Hello, friend. Welcome back. The following is an impromptu conversation with one of my longtime friends, Koji Aiken. Koji is a true artist and businessman, and he has embarked on this new journey of creating and sharing drum and bass music. This is part 2 of the conversation that I had with Koji Aiken. Please enjoy. How, you've been in like creative ruts before, right? Obviously.
Totally. Yeah.
Are you in one right now, would you say?
No. I don't think I'm in a creative like yes and no. Like yes, as in I can't find the time to be creative right now. So like I'm like in a schedule rut, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
Because I have too many other commitments right now. But like when I actually get down and sit down and like try to make an idea, like I don't really feel impeded by my creativity.
How would you define a creative rut?
A creative rut, I would say, is it's like a break in your consistency in your creation process
Because
of circumstantial because of circumstances that prevent you from fulfilling your 100% your creativeness 100%, right? So like I said, it's like I would technically say I'm in a creative rut because I don't have time to create as much as I want to, which is obviously restricting me from actually creating.
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a creative rut. I think that is, you just don't have time to create. I don't think you're in a depressive state with your creation. I just think that you're physically limited by your time. I think a creative rut is more like not
your
like not
inability to create.
Yeah, because you're not aligned with the content or the art that you're making. Like you have missed. You are not in a relationship with why you are making the art.
Right. Okay.
So like a lot of people I find, and myself included, stumble to like create something because you can't figure out why you want to make it. Like there's something in the back of your mind where you're like, I want to create something or I should create something.
But you don't.
But you're like, I don't know why I want to do this. And like you because you don't know why you want to do something,
you're aimlessly creating.
You can't harness like that true motivation or artistry because there's no like nucleus of energy propelling you to create.
Right, yeah.
And I think like a creative rut is when you misplace your nucleus of creative energy.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Or it's hiding from you, or you can't find it.
How do you align yourself, or like what's the best way to align that nucleus to where you want to be then?
Well, you got to search for it. You got to look for the nucleus. Like it's always there. It's always in you, especially in a creative. Like the creative energy is always in you. But you can easily lose sight of it because it likes hiding for some reason. And I think the answer to getting out of a creative rut is finding that nucleus again. And what I mean by finding it is like you have to like look internally and realize and ask yourself like, why am I creating? Why do I want to create? What benefits come of creating? And sort of regaining touch with all the positives that creating has.
I think.
And that's how you like find that energy.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There's an interesting definition then. So you think creative rut is it's an internal thing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm thinking it from a holistic point of view because I completely agree with you from an internal point, and it's like the whole idea of the why that drives you. If you don't have that, and you can't create. But I also feel like you know, if you don't have a computer.
Yeah. But that doesn't put you in a creative rut. That like I think there's a differentiation there. Like that your physical world limiting your creativeness wouldn't be considered like a creative rut. Like I think if you go through a rut, that means like, you know, you're depressed because of internal sort of going on.
Okay, let me rephrase things. So I'm looking at creativity as like almost like a stream, right? Like a stream of your power to create or whatever, right? And it's like in order for that stream to continue to flow, you need to constantly be feeding it water, right? Like and the reason why I say this is because there's been periods of time where like I've had a month to just like work on music every day, and it's like that creative flow has like gotten stronger and stronger every time I put it.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'll take a week off and try and come back to it, and it's like I'm just stumped, right? Because that flow isn't there.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I say you get into a creative rut sometimes due to physical circumstances that limit you. It's like that also impedes the flow of creativity, right? Like,
okay, I see what
so
you're
that's kind of like how I think. It's like it's a constant like stream inside of you, and it's like it grows and shrinks based on like how much like water or creativity that you put through it. It's like a machine, you know what I mean?
Interesting. So
Or
you're
like,
kind of looking at it like physical fitness almost.
yeah,
Like the more consistent you are with the gym, the easier it is to like get in the gym and like be
totally,
active.
yeah.
And if you take a month off from working out, getting in that gym on that
Yeah.
31st day is fucking terrible.
It's awful. You can't do it. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's not how I look at it, I don't think. I like I like your stream analogy. I do.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean that's like I'm just trying to come up with a concept that like justifies, you know, like time constraints or physical constraints or, you know, like material constraints, you know, not having enough money or like not having the hardware to actually do what you want to do.
Yeah, I think I don't agree with that because I look at creativity in a different light. I don't look at creativity just in the sense of like creating your medium of art. Like, like I feel like I am creative in my cooking. I am creative in the way that I write. I am creative in the way that I engage with the world on a daily basis. Yes. So like there's nothing like physically that could impede on my creativity as a whole because I can express it in like
different ways.
Tons of different ways. So even if I didn't have access to my computer, I wouldn't feel creatively impeded because I could express in a different way. As long as I have like connection to my creative nucleus.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of what I see creativity as, but I get your whole stream thing and I get how you're kind of speaking at it from like a very like a narrow perspective on like your actual art.
Yeah.
I get that.
But you think creativity... Oh, so...
I think creativity is everything. I think you can be creative in the way that you dress, in the way that you talk, in the way that you...
Totally, yeah. So, but you think a creative rut is like your ability to be creative? That's your definition?
Yes.
Like,
you lose connection with your like creative energy as a whole. Like your creative energy spills into every aspect of your life.
And you said, you know, you mentioned, or you said the word depressive. Like, so you think when you're in a creative rut, you're like depressed almost?
Yeah, because you're losing touch with... If your creative energy is like a ball of energy, like the sun, right? Like
it's like a little mini sun.
It's your warmth. It's your. Yes. It's what brings you comfort and allows you to express yourself.
Yeah.
If you misplace that, you kind of fall into a darker place. Like if you're using the analogy of the sun and it's gone or hiding,
it gets darker. Yeah.
It gets darker. You know, everything is kind of creatively depressed, right?
Right.
Like you feel less inclined to cook fancy things, you feel less inclined to dress yourself nicely, you feel less inclined to have depthful conversations creatively. Like that's what a creative rut to me is. Because you go into like a complete slump of creativity because you're like, why am I doing any of this? Like I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Your why is gone. So would you say your why is like synonymous to this nucleus that you talk about?
Yes.
Like why you do things.
Yeah, why you get up in the morning, why you get up out of bed. Like
why do you get up in the morning?
To be a good role model for my family. And I would like that is at my core why I move and operate, I think. It's to like be a good person to look up to for my immediate family and be that rock for them.
Yeah.
But then that like my why also expands outwards. Like I like being a good role model for other people, my community, for my friends, and I like, But that is my why. I like being a good role model, which is why I like do all of these like healthy things. Like I keep myself healthy, my mind and my body, so that I can, not even for myself, it's for other people. Which is like a much more powerful driving force. Like I show up for other people, I feel like.
Yeah. Okay.
As opposed to showing up for myself. But what ends up happening is because I show up for other people, I ultimately show up for myself. It's the same thing almost. If I want to be a good role model for my younger siblings, you know, that requires me be healthy, be sane, not do drugs, not go to jail.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps me out of trouble because I'm doing it for them.
Right. But
that's my why, I think.
Okay, interesting. And then here's the other. Do you ever feel, or do you have a good grasp on your ability to make sure that, because you obviously rely on like it sounds like you rely on your perception of being a role model and the expectations that come from that, right? Like the expectation of other people looking up to you. Does that ever get it overbearing? And if it does, how do you control it? Like, and this kind of goes back to the whole thing of like being too ambitious and feeling like you're 3 steps behind always.
Yeah. I think I feel like I understand what you're saying.
Like, does it ever get overbearing being a role model for other people, or like having that expectation to be a role model for other people?
I don't think so, because I make the rules on what I deem to be a good role model.
Right.
Like, I don't have other people telling me how to be a role model. It's intuitive to me, so it doesn't really get exhausting because it's I'm playing a role that I am writing the script for. Like,
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
it's not exhausting because everything I do is by choice. And it's all by my own fruition. Nobody is telling me how to be a good role model.
Right.
I'm internally conjuring up the script to be a good role model.
Right. So
it's not exhausting. So if I ever get exhausted doing something, I just pull back, which is in turn being a good role model, because a bad role model wouldn't go too deep into one thing and then exhaust himself and then fail, or whatever the case is, right? It's like a self-regulating positive feedback loop.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, like that's like some advanced self-awareness you got. You know what I mean? Because it's like I struggled with that a lot. Because I was very similar, you know, like I do things out of fear of letting people down, or like,
Yeah.
and sometimes I let that get to me to the point where like I like work past my limits because I don't want to like let other people down, because you know, like similar to you, it's like I want to be a role model for other people, right? But it's like I feel like sometimes I put too much pressure on myself and perform past my limits to the point where I like break down.
Right, but that in itself is failing your job that you've put on yourself, I think. Like, not in a bad, you know what I mean? Like, it's
No, yeah.
like,
Well, I think my definition of role model versus yours is different then, or like, because like I used to think like that in the past, right? Like I've gotten a lot better at it, but like before, yeah, I was like I'd work myself to the ground to make sure that like nothing, like all the balls were kept in the air.
yeah, that is interesting. I don't think I would ever work myself into the ground. I think the definition, I don't know what your definition of working yourself into the ground is, but I would never
like burnout.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you ever get burnt out? Do you feel burnt out ever?
We're getting to the definitions here. Like, I think my definition of burnt out might be different than yours. Like, I don't. What do you mean by burnt out?
Like, you overwork yourself to the point, like going back to the creative nucleus analogy, it's like you overwork yourself to the point where that creative nucleus gets dimmed, not because of any factors that impede the creativity of the nucleus, but it's just like you simply just don't have the life force to sustain that nucleus.
I think I don't get burnt out, like, because
okay.
No, like, I wouldn't get burnt out in that way where, like, my creative nucleus runs dry.
Right.
Because I look at it as the sun. The sun never goes out. You know, like, it's an ever emanating ball of energy. Mm-hmm. The only way that I would get burnt out if I lose connection to that. Like, if it goes away. So as long as I have connection to that nucleus and to my driving force, I have, like, infinite amounts of energy and life form. And I think, like, that's a reasonable thing, right? You have these people who seemingly can push through, like, tremendous amounts of adversity. And I think it's because they have a really strong grasp on why they're doing it. Right. And they have, like, this eternal motivation. Like, the hardworking immigrant family, like the hardworking immigrant dad who's taking care of his family, can work 80-hour work weeks in the fucking trenches, in the factories.
No problem.
No problem. Like, no questions asked. He will put his fucking head down for 10 hours a day, come home, go to sleep, do it again.
Yeah.
He's not burnt out, right? Because his flame is eternal, right? He has to tend to his children. He has to take care of his family.
Right, yeah.
Right? It's like that hardworking mentality. I think all of us have it in us, as long as you can maintain that why. And that immigrant father has a very strong why. He comes home to his kids and he sees, the fruits of his labor, right? He sees, like, his hard work paying off. And, like, I think you can harness internal energy, like, forever internal energy, as long as you have a strong grasp on why you're doing it.
But it really depends on your ability to stay in tune with it.
Exactly. So, for example, if that father's children were to pass away, or like, he would lose connection to that family, he wouldn't have the drive to work 80-hour work weeks in the factory. So he would get burnt out. But it's not like his energy didn't deplete. He just lost connection to his energy. It's like it's in a different place and he can't find it. That's how I look at it.
That's really insightful. I like that. All right, so then how do you find that why, or how do you strengthen your connection to that why? Because I feel like for us it's very clear what our whys are, why we do the things that we do, but I feel like for the majority of people they have no clue what's going on. They're
that's the $1 million question, bro. And there's hundreds of paid courses online to figure out your why. All these gurus talk about figuring out your why. I think it just comes down to doing the deep work, doing the meditation, doing the reflection, sitting with your own thoughts, removing the bullshit from your life, understanding what makes you tick, right? Taking analysis of when I do this activity, do I feel good? When I do this activity, do I feel bad? When I engage in this, do I feel like I'm making progress? When I engage in this, do I feel like I'm regressing? And the only way to figure out your why is to be consistently analytical about every single thing that happens in your life.
Yeah.
And when you remove all the bad things and you move towards all the positive things, you make ground on, you're cutting through the fog.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Getting closer.
Every time you pursue something that makes you upset or doesn't fulfill you, you move backwards into the fog. So it's all about a positive, follow the positives, eliminate the negatives. And that's how you get towards your why, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, this is a really good analogy. I think for some people it might be harder because of the social conditioning that they have. You know what I mean? For me, I was lucky enough to have a dad that taught me my whole life to do what I love, and then everything will figure itself out, right? So I had a very, very supportive push towards my why, and having a really safe space to explore that. But I feel like a lot of people don't have that.
Yes,
or
I agree.
They figure it out a lot later in life because of societal conditioning and the way that they were raised and stuff. And
I agree.
And it sucks to see.
I agree.
But do you think everyone? But then again, it's do you think everyone is actually capable of finding their why?
Of course, absolutely.
Do you think what would happen if everyone found their why?
Everybody would have eternal energy. Everybody would be working as hard as the immigrant father providing for his children. Everybody would be on that same wavelength if everybody had a deep and true connection to their why.
Do you think the current system
Yes.
would collapse if everyone found their why? Because I feel the quote unquote rat race that operates society is really heavily driven on people not being able to, or not being in touch with their why. And
The rat race that you speak of is people chasing not their own whys, the whys of other people's. It's
of what they were told. Right?
Of what they were told, yeah, absolutely. So they're searching in the wrong direction in the fog. They're going in the complete wrong direction. And they're going to keep looking forever, and they're not going to find it if they're in that trajectory.
Okay.
But the caveat to that is there is it's a fake shining light in that fog. Your boss or your company is shining a false energy light, saying oh, come over here, this is where your why is, right? It's it's like the lady in the red dress. You're very drawn to a certain direction, but you're actually going the freaking wrong way.
You're going the opposite way.
Yeah. So in order to find your actual why, you need to turn that light off. You need to get out of that job, or you need to, because it's clouding your judgment. It's a very bright light, but it's a fake light.
It's not real. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
And pure. You can't see your real light because
it's being outshone.
Yes.
Outshone by the fake light. Interesting. And so you think a lot of people operate based on a false perception of their why.
Totally. And they chase whys that aren't theirs. And the whys that aren't theirs are super bright because I don't know why they're super bright, but they are.
I think it's because of it's beneficial to your boss for you to chase your why. It should chase their why. So it's obviously they're going to do everything in their power to make it seem
and it'd be disadvantageous for a boss to let their employee chase their own why, because that means that employee is there for a finite amount of time. Because as soon as you find your energy ball, you're out.
You don't need to.
You don't need to be there. You've found alignment.
Okay, so what's your advice for people who are stuck in their circumstances and are unable to find their why. For example, like a single mother of 3 who needs to work 2 jobs in order to sustain themselves and their family.
Well, that in that case, like, she's found her why to a certain degree. Like, in that case that you just mentioned, she has kind of eternal energy because she's trying to provide for her children. So her why is, like, apparent, which is why she's able to work 2 jobs.
Right. Oh,
I think there's a little bit of a disparity there. Like,
But you know, like, maybe that person's why isn't necessary. Oh, but then their why becomes something else. Not okay. Yeah. Your analogy is really tight. Because I was just thinking about this. It's like, what if said person, they really wanted to, like, achieve a dream in cooking or something, or start like a baking channel or something, but they're limited by their circumstances of having to take care of their kid, their obligation to take care of their kids. You know what I mean? But then it's like, then the why isn't their kids, it's their dream.
Which is, yeah.
So I just answered myself without...
Yeah. And your why doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to be chasing your dreams. Like, a stay-at-home mom can be completely fulfilled and be intact with her energy ball if she's at home, taking care of her family, and financially stable. Like, that's all that means. You know, if everybody found alignment with their why, everybody would be happy, because that's what happiness is. It's being aligned with why you're here on this earth.
Right. All right. Interesting.
That is interesting.
That's a hard one, though. For sure.
You got to go?
What time is it?
1:30.
Yeah, it is time for me to go. I don't want to be late. That was fucking insightful, though, man. That was heavy talks, bro.